Spring Cache. So before we start using Redis, let's just take a look at the Spring Cache module. Spring Cache provides us a way that we can use annotations to control the cache management, so that we don't need to write a lot of code to create our own caching mechanism. So behind the scenes, Spring used AOP, and by default is in-memory data structure like concurrent hash map to create a cache. And also it provides a abstraction layer that we can use other external storage to save the cache data, like Redis. Okay, so but before we use Redis, let's just take a look at the cache module in Spring. So let's just add a quick cache inside our API. Okay, so we want to make this, let's see, any API like get all, okay, get all ingredients API, and we need this one. Okay, so this one. So on the service layer, and we want to add a cache. Means that like every time we call this get ingredient, we check if the cache is already there. If the cache is there, then we return the value from the cache instead of hit the database. Okay, so that's the main purpose. And the annotation is called cacheable. Okay, so in Spring Cache, this one will automatically apply a cache, okay, around this method. So basically it's an AOP. Okay, so after the return, okay, and then it will save the return inside, and the value will be the method name. Okay, so here we need a couple of changes in the project. First, we need to let Spring know that our system is using cache. Okay, so we need to here in the configuration file, we have to add enable caching. Okay, this annotation is inside the cache module as well. Okay, and then after that, we can just actually try to run it. Okay, so we don't need Redis actually in this demo. We just need to start the project, but it needs a database. So start a database and then start our project. So we need a Postman. Postman is here, and then we're gonna call get ingredient. Right. So this is the API. We just applied cache. Right. So then this get all ingredient will call service get all ingredient. Okay. So then this method is where we put the annotation about. Can we just do it from here? Yes, we can also do on any method. Okay, but I will just recommend to do it on the service layer. Okay, so now let's see if I send. Okay, and then it returns us an error saying that internal server error, and then we just scroll down here. It will give us some error message. So basically, it's saying that hey, you want to have a cache, okay, of this method, but you should provide a name. Okay, so at least one cache should be provided. So here we just need to give it a name. There's a couple of fields inside here. We have a value and a cache name. Okay, so those are the two alias. So you can use either of them. Okay, you can just use cache name. Maybe it's easier to read. Okay, so we can just call it ingredient cache or just ingredient, and then restart the server. Okay. So now we send. Okay, now you see we get the response, and 1 2 3 4 5 6 until 14, and also we have a database query, right? So because this is the first time we call this method, there's no cache, so then it will call the database. But if I do it again, right? So if I send again, right, you can see there's no new database query print out. Okay, so no matter how many times I click, okay, so there are always no new database operations. This is because this cache now is working, right? So let's see if I comment out this line, restart, means that now we disable this cache. So then if I just keep query, okay, this API, then this API will call the service call DAO will query the database, right? So the second time, the third time, you can see this database is very busy now. No matter how many times you call it, okay, every time you're going to query the database, even though all the data are the same, right? So this is a performance optimization points, right? So like, no matter how many times the user query it, even though the data is not changed but still you need to query the database. Why not just save it into the memory so that it could be faster? You don't need to really do all those database query things. Okay. So one more time. So now, okay, only the first time we have it, and then the second time. Okay. All right. So this is the idea.